Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Evelyn. I'm a library and information sciences grad student with a focus in youth services, and today I'm cooking up a story time all about food. So I have a little bit of an issue with the story time. When I started planning it, I thought it was going to be fruit and vegetable themed, but I wasn't able to get my hands on enough fruit and vegetable books to make it that specific. I figured, oh, I can do a lot of different food story times if I make them more specific than just food generally. And so I wanted to focus in on fruits and vegetables, but as you'll see when we go through the books, I don't have 3 fruit and veggie books. So currently it is just food themed, and we're gonna see if we can figure out how to make that work today. So let's start by going over the books. First, we have our nonfiction pick. This is Edible Colors by Jennifer Vogel Bass. And I like this one because it features photos of real fruits and vegetables. And it gives me the opportunity to do a dialogic reading where I ask the audience if they recognize any of the images on the page. So there's one little quibble that I have with this book. It starts with carrots. Carrots are orange, they're also purple. What else can be purple? And then it goes through all the different colors. We've got red, green, yellow, blue, white. I think I skipped black, but black's in there too. It never goes back to orange. There's never an orange spread. To go with that fruit theme, I have this book, Fruit Bowl by Mark Hoffman. So in this one, all the fruits have come home from the grocery store and they're gonna climb into their bowl. Let's see, they're all in there, and then the tomato starts to climb in as well. And there you go, tomato, you're a vegetable, you don't belong here. And tomato explains exactly why he is actually a fruit and what the difference between fruits and vegetables really is. And so thought that one was fun with the anthropomorphic fruits and veggies. Finally, we have Amy Wu and the Perfect Bow. Now don't get me wrong, I do really like this book and I would love to use it in a story time, but like I said, it's not a fruit and veggie book. It feels disconnected from the other two. I would love to use it specifically in a story time about cooking because it's about cooking and there's a recipe in the back. Recipes can be a great literacy tool because in order to read and follow stories, children have to understand the order of events, and recipes really help with that. And then of course cooking at home can help develop motor skills as well. So I either have to figure out a different third book before I film this month's story time, or I have to figure out how to bridge the gap between these two. In order to help me figure out how I maybe could bridge that gap, let's move on to our activities. As always, I think we're going to be starting with our number of the day. I really like that one, and it's pretty easy to translate into the digital space. Then we'll sing Apples and Bananas, which I plan to perform on my ukulele, so we're there. You'll just have to trust me on that. Apples and Bananas is a great phonological awareness song because you swap out the vowel sounds in every verse. So I like to eat, eat, eat apples and bananas. I like to eat, eat, eat apples and bananas. I like to eat, eat, eat apples and bananas. I like to eat, eat, eat apples and bananas, and so on and so forth. So we're playing around with the sounds that make up our words. Yay! Since that song's all about fruit, I was thinking of pairing it with a song that's all about vegetables. vegetables. My father has a vegetable song called Gimme Vegetables, which is also a really great phonological awareness builder because it utilizes a lot of rhyming and tongue twisters with lines like, I'm a lean, mean, green bean eating machine. I'm a muscle-bound tower of cauliflower power. I'm a 2-ton, tongue-twisting turnip terminator. But then I would have all fruit and veggie things except for the last book. And I don't know if that works. It doesn't work. I know it doesn't work. Which leads me to, I could sub in this chant by Catherine Dines called Mashed Potatoes. This is the way my grandma makes mashed potatoes, mashed potatoes. And you go through the different steps to making mashed potatoes, which is similar to this story, which goes through the steps of making bao. But how do I get from point A to mashed potatoes to point B? Is there a potato in this book? It looks like there is a potato briefly featured in Fruit Bowl in a couple of spreads, but that's the closest up he ever is. Later you see him with the other veggies in the fridge, but it's really not a big part of the book. I could purposefully point out the potato and then try to segue into the mashed potatoes chant, but it just doesn't mesh well. I think maybe I have to find a different third book. I think I'm trying to plan 2 different story times because the first 2 books go really well with the veggie songs, and this book goes really well with the mashed potatoes chant, but they don't go well together. I think we have to go to the library. Before we go on a field trip, let's go to the library online catalog. Whoop. Okay, let's see if this book that I'm thinking of is at the library. If not, then I'll just do the Franken food story time. But if it is, it looks like they do have this book at the library. Do you want to go to the library with me? All right, this is Amara's Farm, and I really like this book because it shows off all of these different types of fruits, some that you may not be familiar with. So this is Amara, and she has many plants on her farm. She's looking for a pumpkin. And so we know that a pumpkin is large, round, often orange, has a thick shell. It grows on vines, has a hard stem at the top, a mostly hollow center, orange pulp, squishy innards, and many seeds. We find some apples. An apple is round, but it's not a pumpkin. And then we find some persimmons, and persimmons are orange, but they're not a pumpkin. This is going to be my 3rd book in what is now definitely a fruits and veggies themed story time. I had an idea while I was out for a finger play rhyme that I could use that I will either substitute for Gimme Vegetables or for the number of the day, depending on how I decide to use it. Way up high in the apple tree, 2 little apples smiled at me. I shook the tree as hard as I could. Down came the apples. They were good. And then you can either repeat counting down, so you'd start with 5 and count down to 1, or you could sub in different fruits, right? So start with apples, and then I do oranges, and then I do bananas, and then I do coconuts, and then I do pears, right? And So if I decide to do the countdown, that could replace number of the day as the counting element and it would go first. And then if I decide that it should replace Gimme Vegetables, if I decide to finally do a story time without a Monty Harper song in it, then it could go between two of the books. Let's figure this out by taking a look at our story time map. Of course, we always start with a welcome song, then we'll move on to either number of the day or the counting version of our apple tree rhyme. Then we'll read our first book, Edible Colors by Jennifer Vogelbass. After that, we'll sing Apples and Bananas. Then we'll move on to our second book, Fruit Bowl by Mark Hoffman. Then we will either sing Gimme Vegetables or do the fruit tree version of the apple tree rhyme. Then we'll read our last story, Amara's Farm, before wrapping up with a goodbye song. I'll need your help to decide what to do in the final story time, so leave a comment down below. Which version of the rhyme do you think I should use? And then tune in next week to see which one I pick. Alright, that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for going all the way to the library with me to help plan this story time. I had so much fun being your almost librarian. I'll see you real soon. Goodbye!